Hi guys, welcome to M&D Made Simple. I'm your host, Coach Alexander. How to become a monitoring and evaluation specialist. This is what we're going to be looking at today. It's a very important topic because a lot of people have been asking me these questions, and the reason they ask is because they want to be good at what they do, and I believe everybody should be given that chance to know and learn the ropes when it comes to M&E. But before I go any further, for those of you who are here for the very first time, my name is Coach Alexander. I've been doing this for 10 years now. Actually, it's over 10 years. I really want you to subscribe to this channel if you've not done so, because on a regular basis I post updates in relation to monitoring and evaluation. You might not know this, but I've been running what is known as the 6 months coaching program. In the 6 months coaching program, you get mentored and coached by myself for 6 months on how to become an effective M&D professional. All right. And the reason why this is such a beautiful program is because you get a certificate, you gain access to 15 Udemy courses for free, and you get assessed via the test, assignments, and quizzes. It's a very good program. I'll urge you to write to me if you're interested to enroll in this program. Please write to me so that we get you enrolled. As usual, there's also the courses which are running on Udemy. How to write an effective research paper is one of the courses, but there are many other courses on Udemy. So please write to me or simply click the link in the description if you want to get access to this course. So as usual, this video is long, so take advantage of the timestamps. If you don't want to watch the whole video, just get to the part which is so important to you, which you want to learn at length. Okay, so let's get started with it, shall we? The outline is really straightforward and simple. Who is an M&D specialist? All right. What does a monitoring and evaluation specialist do? And how can you become that specialist that you want to become? So now, I want to urge you guys to watch this from start to finish, because sometimes skipping parts, you miss out on important information. But I can assure you, it's good for you to really get the gist of what is going on here. Okay, so who is an M&D specialist? An M&D specialist is the person responsible for M&D, but this person reports to the manager and yet supervises the officers. Okay, now I want to explain this a bit further, because normally, most of the time when you go to any organization, there will be M&D officers. Okay, usually that's the case, but in organizations or projects that are really big, you actually have a hierarchy of M&D personnel. You have the M&D officers, you have the specialist, and then you have the manager and the M&D director. Okay, so that's usually the hierarchy. So now what happens is that the reason why there'll be this hierarchy is because in most cases the project is big, so you need all the personnel that you can get to do an effective job. But also, each of these individuals have a special role to play. And the M&D specialist, in my view, has a very, very important role to play. I think he is the most important part of the hierarchy, because as his position suggests, he's a specialist, he's an expert in M&E. With the officers, if you've noticed, you can actually get people on board who have not actually been, if you've noticed, I mean, this is what we see going on. You have M&D officers employed who didn't even study M&D, but because probably they did some course related to project management, they do qualify for that job. But for the specialist, he has actually studied and he is an expert in the field of M&E. So now what he does, as I earlier hinted to you, he supervises the officers. okay, because he's more like a junior manager who supervises the officers. So the M&D officers will get instructions from him from time to time. But he's not a boss, but because he's the expert, he will always be able to identify areas that need strengthening. Another thing that he does is provide in-depth analysis and scrutiny on findings. The M&D specialist is the expert in the field, okay? So when we say analysis and scrutiny, he's really detailed on gathering insights when it comes to findings on different matters. So he's able to trace those issues. He provides detailed guidance and advice on the implementation of an M&D system in an organization. Okay, let me give you an example. I always like using the example of a BMW vehicle. Okay, have you noticed that if a BMW vehicle develops a problem, the first thing that you do is call a mechanic, right? And this could be a general mechanic, okay? But if that mechanic fails, you call the person who is actually an expert in BMWs, okay? So that expert BMW fixer is what I would relate to as a specialist. So the specialist actually is able to give proper guidance on how a system should run. Sometimes he will act as a manager, all right? From time to time he will act as an M&D manager. But because he's an expert, he is needed more in the actual project where he has been placed. What normally happens is this: the M&D manager will be managing M&D for different projects, but this specialist will be assigned to one project, okay, and will have to make sure that that project is running smoothly and is getting the findings that are speaking to the targets that were outlined at the planning stage. So now, how can you become an M&D specialist? So the first thing is that you need to do some studying, all right? If you've been to university, that's a starting point. But that is not to say that you always need to pass through university to be an expert. But it is a starting point, because the bachelor's degree comes with it a lot of goodies, like statistics, like research methodology, and so on and so forth. And those are things that I feel every M&D specialist should know. If you are able to do a postgraduate diploma from a university, that is also commendable. All right, I would encourage that if you have the resources. And another thing is that for me, even when I got my papers, I didn't have anybody who could guide me in the field of monitoring and evaluation. So I would want to encourage you guys that you who are even the ones who've gotten probably a master's degree, it is essential for you to also get to learn about how this is done. Somebody should guide you, and that is why I have this coaching program designed to help you. I don't want you to be scared. There was another time, interestingly, somebody told me, because I gave them my number, and they tell me that, look, how do I know whether you are a scammer? So now the thing I told that person is that if I were a scammer, believe you me, I would have already disappeared with a lot of money. Okay? The thing is about scammers is that even when you send them the money, they'll disappear. They won't give you the service. But a lot of people have sent money to me, and they've gotten their service. All right, and that's what I want everyone here to believe. Now, it's not good for you to hold back, but simply write to me, we discuss. And another thing is that the coaching program, I know, could be expensive, but believe you me, the value you're getting far surpasses the cost. So sometimes you need to learn to invest in something you believe in, something that's going to strengthen you, because how will you feel knowing that your boss doesn't like your work, but you know that there's a solution, you know somebody can help you solve your problem? Okay, so more about that coaching program, I'll talk about it after this slide. Now, another thing you have to do when you to become an M&D specialist is that if you are in an organization, you have been employed as an officer, and there's no specialist position there, that is something, that is an opportunity in itself, but it is really not the title that makes you a specialist. It is the way you conduct yourself. If somebody asks you a question, do you answer that question confidently? Do you provide guidance on how M&D should be implemented? Do people look at you as a source of solutions when it comes to monitoring and evaluation? So those are questions you need to ask yourself, because if you are always scratching your head, even when your boss calls you to solve a problem in M&D, you're scratching your head, there is absolutely no way you can be called a specialist. So you need to work on those matters. Another issue is you need to invest in your own self. Okay, do a lot of reading. You know, there's a lot of free material on the internet to do with monitoring and evaluation. So please take full advantage of the material that is on the internet. Download those books, do a lot of reading, get to understand what all these issues, all these things mean for you. Now, back to the 6 months coaching program. Now, I want you guys to take this thing seriously, because in January we're going to start the full implementation. But I would encourage anyone who is interested to apply even today and book themselves a place in the 6 months coaching program, because what's going to happen is that you are going to be fully equipped on how to manage any project. There are many projects out there. Now, I want to also explain that in your work, if you are doing M&D right now and you have a boss who doesn't believe in you, who doesn't trust you, please enroll in this program, because you're going to be helped to become better at what you do. So at this point in time, I want to thank you so much for being part of this presentation. I've been your host, Coach Alexander, and see you on the other side. Bye.